Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my show Computer Witness Day. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at the biggest news on the internet right now. It's Google Stadia. So let's dive right into it. Now, first thing you have to understand, there is a problem with Google. Now, even though Google is a multi-billion-dollar industry, it has only one income source. Every company have multiple income source, but Google is stuck in a place where they have only one income source. That is their ads. There is nothing else that Google does that makes them money. Not even Android, and especially not YouTube. YouTube is a losing proposition for them. Basically, Google is spending money to just keep YouTube running. Then the question becomes why they are doing it. Well, think of it this way. If you have ads, then the second thing, the best thing you can do is figure out who to market to. Basically, targeted ad requires you to have search engine. Now, Google is the biggest search engine. Here's the deal: YouTube is the second biggest search engine. So having that gives them strategical advantage. So there is no another advertisement company that can come up and compete with Google, simply because Google owns two of the biggest search engines. That is why even though YouTube is not profitable for Google, they still keep it around. Now, they have tried many things, making hardwares and Google glasses. They have tried many things, but none of them have worked, and that's why the Google Alphabet has a division that's sole job is try to figure out a new way of revenue. So the first thing you would think of, okay, Google is there, it has data centers, it has YouTube and all that. Shouldn't streaming become the next thing? Now, problem with that is streaming is a very crowded store. Now, streaming was not created by Google. Streaming was created and popularized by Netflix. Now, just after Netflix comes Amazon Prime, and just in few days from now, Disney will come along. So you can understand these are already juggernauts in their industry. So Google can't compete in this because each of them have multi-billion-dollar infrastructures to compete against that. So that creates a scenario where it's very crowded, and Netflix already have a large following. Google Prime is already slowly building a large Prime, and they have secondary benefits. You can have Google Prime membership, Amazon Prime membership that will help you with your shipping and all that. So they can't compete in this scenario, and once Disney comes along, even these two will have issues. So understand that Google cannot insert here. So they're like, okay, we have only advertisement and we have nothing else. So what do? They go into gaming. Now, you have to understand, gaming have a lot of players, but very few small, large scale players. So if you really want to understand in terms of their game stores, there are many game stores. You have Steam, you have Origin, you have Uplay, you have Windows App Store, and other things are also there, but there are only two major ones. One is from Steam and another is from Unreal Engine. Now, that's being developed on, but because they are coming from a game engine's point of view, they have certain advantages. And in terms of console, there is only three major consoles, which is Xbox, PlayStation and Nintendo. So you can understand there are not that many players, and each of the player is not ludicrously big. So this gives them the advantage, and then question becomes, is there enough money there? Like, does this have enough money for justifying that kind of cost? Yes, last year, as in 2018, the total market cap of gaming worldwide was $135 billion. That's a lot of money. So that is why they are going to gaming, not in streaming. Now, and because of the fact that there are so many small players, nobody can challenge basically Google in this. So how the heck this magic works? Now, here's the all you're gonna do is feed them input. Basically, their server, their processing node, you're gonna feed them input. Okay, move left, and all they're gonna do is process everything. Basically, you are only telling them move left, they're gonna take care of everything else. On top of that, the output, as in the video, will be streamed to you. Now, it is kind of a bit different when they are saying streaming the video. They are streaming in simple format. Consequence, the file sizes are huge. Basically, you need kind of big bandwidth. You need minimum of 15 Mbps or 25 Mbps for full HD clean output, because if they are compressing it, you need something to decompress that video file. Now, there are equipments, there are processor which we call hardware accelerations. If you have that, awesome, you can have a very good 1080p video transmission between two slow speed links by having good compression, but we do not do that. So Google is not aiming for that. Simple reason is that hardware acceleration is not found on everything. It's a very expensive thing. So your iPad may have it, but your iPhone may not have it. Or so in those sort of scenario, Google want to bypass that. So they want to make sure that everything works. For that reason, they are not doing any compression or something fancy. So this allows their video to be played on anything, from a Google Chromecast to your TV to your Android phone to your just a monitor, fancy monitor which has a input. Everything will work. Now, this allows you to do one core thing that nobody has thought of before is basically do anything and anywhere, as in like you are doing gaming in your computer, awesome, everything is nice. How about gaming in a living room? You can't do that right now, and people have tried that with basically Nvidia control, Nvidia shields and all that. It is doable, but you have to buy extra things. Here you don't have to buy anything, you simply buy a service. You don't buy a product, you buy a service. So, and Google is also coming up with their own controller. Be mindful, this controller is not necessary. The sole reason this controller exists is simply for Google to provide to the developers. It's like whoever the manufacturing industry may be it Razer, be it Logitech, is like, look at this, this is how you're supposed to make it. Basically this is a template, this is like, yeah, this is minimum, please bare minimum, give this much, and then you make your own product. Because you can use your keyboard, mouse, you can use your Xbox controller, you can use your PlayStation controller, you can do whatever, whenever, wherever, as long as you have internet. So that's how it works. Basically you feed it input, it processes everything and gives out you the video signal. Now video signal is not compressed, that's why it will work on anything. Consequence, it will require bigger bandwidth. Now then the question becomes, okay, this is a marketplace, so what does it has, like what is its unique selling point? Why would you want to consider this? Now you have to understand, Google is a big daddy. Google is not small, Google is big daddy, it's granddaddy. So they were showing they have like upwards of 7,000 nodes, as in processing centers and what we call data nodes, that is scattered around the world. You can see this is United States, this is basically Africa, and then you have entire European Union. Even in India they have multiple nodes. So understand this, at this point in time, scale wise, nothing can come close. Nothing, not even Microsoft, not even Sony, not even Nvidia, nothing can come close. So they take care of the scale part. Basically all over the planet they can do this. They are the only one that can do this. Not even Apple. Nothing is of this scale exists. And they need to have this because latency is an issue. Netflix can run if you have only few servers here. Netflix can easily run. But problem with that, they have to make sure they have basically undersea fiber cable. Done. Nothing more is needed. Here you have to have nodes as close as possible. Otherwise latency will become a idiotically issue. So they figured out the scale problem. That is the first thing they take care of. How do you gonna do in globally? They take care of that flat out. Awesome, no problem with that. Then comes the physics aspect. Now understand this, we do not use physics in game engines, not because we can't do it. We have real-time physics. It's just when you do multiplayer you can't do physics, simply because every computer that is rendering physics system, their output will be different. Let's say you have in Battlefield you have a building, okay, and you place bombs there in its pillar and you detonate it, okay, the building falls. Now how does that building fall? It falls always in the same way. Why? Because the physics has been baked in. They did the physics simulation and they're like, okay, this is the animation, just record the animation and replay it. Why they do it? Because if they don't, and every computer, basically whoever is playing in the multiplayer network, they try to do it, their computer will show them different. On one computer the building would have fallen on the left side, on another it would have fallen on the right side. That is why you don't see destructible stages in the basically environment. You can't do destructible simply because it will be very different. And to do that, like let's say you still want to do it, like okay, I'm gonna simulate the physics and distribute the signal. It's gonna be very bandwidth intensive. So Google allows you to do that. Here's the deal, run one virtual world, one big virtual world, and each player is just a camera point, nothing more than that. So you can have things that we cannot even imagine right now. So think of it this way, let's say there is a Call of Duty map and there are people going around and people are firing. Let's say people are firing bullets. That's what you do in Call of Duty. Now imagine every wall in the game has a structural integrity. So let's say for some reason too many people started having fight in the same place, the buildings around it suddenly collapse. Now that building collapse can happen using physics. That is not possible in current multiplayer. In SCADA it is possible. That will allow every time you play the game, things will look different. Every time you do something, it will look different. And it does not have to be like a realistic game. It can happen in stylized game. It can happen in World of Warcraft. It can happen in Dota. It can happen in anywhere. Basically, the world becomes interactive. Physics becomes the next thing. This is unheard of. Like the earliest I heard of this around 2015 or something, that somebody was trying to make gaming happen in a supercomputer. Now that's unique, because imagine a world where your game basically does not have LOD, what we call level of detail. I'm a 3D game artist, so I know these sort of things. So that is what is rendered once you are like far away. Now in a supercomputer there is no LOD. That means everything is loaded into screen, so you can run as fast as you want. There is no switching, there is no, sometimes you notice the character changed because once you get closer to it, because it's loading up the higher LODs, you don't have to do that. So that allows unique things to be unlocked, things that cannot be like we cannot even imagine properly as of now. So physics, only this can do. Then reach becomes another thing. Imagine having the second or the first biggest mobile interface there is, Android. That is why Google made an investment in Android. Even though Google only makes money from advertisement, how can you advertise if you don't have access to it? Basically, you can't advertise properly on basically Apple. So you advertise on Android. That reach allows us, any game developer, to reach all over the planet. You can understand that, like, this reach is unprecedented. There is nothing that can allow you to do that. There is no Play Store, there is no Steam Store, there is nothing that can reach against this. So reach wise, flat out, this is the granddaddy. And on top of that, they have just YouTube just for add-on, you know. You can watch videos, you can watch game stream, and then just jump in using YouTube. So that allows a very unique USP. So certain aspects you can't, scale you can't compete, physics impossible for anybody else, reach, they have the biggest reach there is, and YouTube. So flat out, there are certain USPs that no other manufacturer, be it Microsoft, be it PlayStation, nothing can compete against this. Now, does that mean everything is nice and dandy? No, there are certain risks. Now, first thing you have to understand, this will not be profitable. Let's say they released it in 31st December of 2019. It's not going to make them money in like 4 or 5 years flat out. It's not going to be a money making machine. It will take years, maybe even a whole decade before it starts to become profitable. Then you have to understand public infrastructure. Right now, it's not very awesome yet. Now, there are certain places that have got very good internet, like India. To give you a context, in India, I pay upwards of $7 to $8 US dollars to get a 90-day of mobile connection, which is 4G internet connection, which gives me around 2 GB per day, unlimited phone calls on everything. To give you a context, to do that in America, please tell me how much you have to spend. Unlimited phone calls, 2 GB data per day, not in a month, per day. It resets after that, and even if, let's say, you have spent that 2 GB, you go to low speed, you don't disconnect, you go to low speed and you are doing WhatsApp, you can easily do it. So cost is solved in India, and because Jio Fiber in India is like trying to give fiber network to your home, not closest to you, to your home, to your doorstep, to your router, basically, they can solve the latency issue, and their target is to give you latency of around 3 to 5 milliseconds. Now, in those sort of scenario, public infrastructure and cost is solved. However, even in America, not every state has good internet. Like in India, like let's say you are in Delhi or Mumbai or let's say Bangalore, you can have only 4 or 5 providers that gives you gigabyte per second. You have Airtel, you have ACT, you have Hathway, you have Jio. So we only have few. We don't have 10s or 20s. So there are some countries that, like in Europe, you simply don't have option. There are some rural areas in America that flat out nothing is there. Only Chromecast is there. But on top of that, you have to make sure you have capless internet. Because of their not needing hardware acceleration, that makes the bandwidth requirement very high. So you can't have a scenario like this where from Chromecast is saying you're expecting you have consumed 80% of your bandwidth. This has to go. For Google to succeed properly, this has to go. A capless internet must be created. Now, and on top of that, let's say they did everything, there is a time for porting. You cannot expect every developer to just jump in right now. Even though Google played it very well and very wise. It's like they bought game engines right now, and the game engines they acquired is basically Unreal and Unity. Now, 2 of these game engines, you might be like, okay, 2, there are hundreds of it. Here's the deal. These 2 are the biggest free engine out there in the market, and Unreal is very big in AAA and Unity very big in mobile. So as of now, as I'm talking to you, they acquired the big daddy. Basically used flat out came together and acquired Apple directly. So they did quite good on that. But it will still take time for game developers to understand, accept it, and utilize it. It will take time. There will be a time for porting. So I am expecting around 4 or 5 years before every game start being ported for that. Now, there are certain dark side to this. I have provided the link down below. Now, you have to understand, people don't like Google for many reasons. Now, some of the reasons are valid, others are not so much. Now, biggest thing is, let's say Google tried to do this. Okay, Google startup, people started developing it. It did not catch on. Let's say Google was like, oh, I will only tolerate 5 years of loss. On 6th year, I need to make a profit. But it didn't. They canceled the project. What do you have? Because understand this is a service, not a product. You did not, the money you spent there is nothing. Like like in terms of PlayStation, you bought a console, you bought disc, you have something. Here you have nothing to show for it. There is nothing, like it's not even a Steam library where you can offline back it up. There is nothing you can do. So you will have in a scenario where, let's say you are spending $10 per month or whatever their cost may be, you are spending that much, you have nothing to show for it. Now that's okay with Netflix, but is it okay with gaming? Because gaming people, especially hardcore gamers, we are used to the fact that we have giant hard drives full with Steam backups, and console players are used to with the idea of having giant disk collections. But in this you will have nothing, so that's a very good dark side. Second, on top of that, what about monetization? What if they start bombarding you with advertisements in the game? So that creates a basically Ready Player One kind of scenario. So you have to understand there are certain dark sides to this, and it's not a done deal. It's a hard thing, it's a hard sell. They have to work on it, and it will take time for it to become profitable. So this was my presentation on Google Stadia. I hope you liked it or learned from it. In that case, please leave a like, click an ad shown in this video, that will directly help me. And if you didn't like it, don't worry about it. You can press dislike, press it twice to show me your extra disappointment. I would urge you to leave a comment because I reply to all of them, and subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.